What's goody? What's good, my people? How y'all doing, man? How y'all doing? I hope y'all are good. I hope y'all okay. Compliments of the new year. Hope y'all crossed it very well. Hope y'all plan on having a good year. Unfortunately, we can't promise ourselves that that we'll have a good year. That's up to the Most High. However, we can pray and hope. Actually, we can make sure that if the year isn't easy, or things get challenging or a bit hard, we come out on the other side as better people, as stronger men, as wiser men, you know? Hopefully. I come to you today about paganism. I'm not sure what I'm gonna call this video yet. Either an update in the Pagan Chronicles, another episode, or something like anything goes in the land of Babylon. But that's besides the point. I just want to shed a brief spotlight on what the elites are doing. Well, what some of the elites are doing. More so, rather, elderly elite people, wealthy, extremely wealthy, elderly, you know. So I have this guy to you today. His name is Brian Johnson. Some of you may have already know him. He's got a pretty popular YouTube channel, actually, and he also has a TikTok channel. He's this billionaire, tech billionaire. He sold a financing software to PayPal, and I think he sold it for around 600 million or something like that. Anyway, he's rich as hell. But that's that's kind of the point, actually. He consumes blood, on some vampiric shit, on some vampire shit. He consumes blood. And what's more twisted and what's more messed up is that he drinks his son's blood because he believes it will keep him young, you know? And apparently to him, he's seen and felt firsthand results that keep him young. And it's not just him, it's a lot of old rich people that do that consume blood, whether it be drinking it straight from the mouth or having a blood transfusion, like literally transferring the blood of someone younger directly into their body. Twisted, man, I know, but hey, anything goes in this land of Babylon, right? And for those of you, and you guys should know, I forgot what it is. It's Deuteronomy 13 or 14. I'm not sure. Oh, I have it here. Let me check. Don't have an internet connection where I'm from. But yeah, there's a verse in Deuteronomy, not just Deuteronomy, throughout the Bible actually, that says, do not consume blood, for life is in the blood. Life resides in the blood, And I guess this is a part of what the Most High meant. When you drink someone's blood, you gain their life, or you gain some of their life force, a portion of their life force or their life essence. And a lot of Wiccans or witches also believe that when you drink someone's blood, you gain not only their life force, but you also gain their personality traits, their talents, their skills, their imagination, which is why some of them drink blood as well. But this guy right here specifically, along with a lot of old rich people, he drinks blood in order to stay young forever. And I'm sure, yeah, a lot of people want to be in their 20s, be young forever. But this life was never meant for that, This life was always temporary. This life was always a test, It's not. This life it's not meant to last forever. And a lot of the people that do wish, a lot of people that desperately wish that they could live forever, to the point where they look for ways to stay young, in cures, in drinking blood, and stem cell research. They just want to evade judgment. They just want to prolong or procrastinate God's judgment for as long as they can, because they know very well of the wickedness that they've committed upon their time here on earth. But unfortunately, fortunately, this life will not go on forever. Everybody receives judgment for the wrong that they've done. Even me, all of us. Which is why you should be doing the best you can to serve the Most High's commandments, But anyway, listen to this real quick before I get into the rest of the topic.
This 45-year-old tech mogul has started injecting himself with his 17-year-old son's blood in hopes to stop the aging process. Brian Johnson spends up to $2 million a year on a variety of things to keep his body younger than
Rich
it
niggas, man.
is.
$2 million
But
a
it's the
year
blood transfusion from his son
on this
which is
wicked
catching
shit.
attention. In turn, Brian then donates his blood to his 70-year-old father in what he calls a tri-generational blood transfusion. Claims that plasma from younger bodies can benefit old people's health by repairing organs and stopping age deterioration have been around for a while. However, experts say results from the studies are inconclusive and health agencies don't recommend it. He also admitted his process involves following a strict diet, sleep and exercise routine. So it's hard to pinpoint what exactly the secret is to Brian's youthful look. How far would you go to stop the aging process? Is it possible?
That's twisted, man. That's crazy. So, as I did a bit of research and as I looked into, wealthy people investing their money into blood transfusion, I found something more, that there are actually companies that sell this as a product or as a business model. And one of those companies being Ambrosia, which I have like an introductory article right here. Ambrosia, the startup harvesting the blood of the young. And this is, well, fortunately now, before I go on, this company closed down because I believe the authorities called the owner or called the founder of this company. His name is, what's his name? Jesse Cosman or something. But yeah, they called him out and said that this transfusion or this action, this process, it's immoral, and you can't, well, not that it's immoral, but he couldn't prove the result of harvesting young people's blood and transferring them into older people. They couldn't prove the benefits, and therefore they forced him to shut it down, and they took away his medical license. But this is just one of many companies. I found 4, 5, 6 other companies around the world, actually. China, Korea, Australia, Switzerland, that do the same thing, that research and that have blood banks and they use plasma to try and find quote unquote cures for older people. But that's just what they claim on the surface. Who's not to know that they have some sort of underground blacklist blood network going on. So let's get into it. The notion has been parodied on TV, but a real company is offering transfusions of plasma from teenagers to reinvigorate older people. At $8,000 per liter, it's a bit of a bloodsucker. What we now call intergenerational fairness has suffered a lot lately. It's not about to be improved by the news that the baby boomers are sucking blood of the young, although in fairness they are only after the plasma. So in Monterey, California, a new startup has emerged, offering transfusions of human plasma, 1.5 liters at a time, pumped in across 2 days, harvested uniquely from young adults. Ambrosia, the vampiric startup concerned, is run by a 32-year-old doctor called Jesse Cosman, yeah, that's his name, who bills $8,000 or 6,200 euros a pop for participation in what he has dubbed a study. So far, he has 600 clients. Well, at the time, he had 600 clients with a median age of 60. The blood is collected from local blood banks, then separated and combined. It takes multiple donors to make one package. And he's charging $8,000 per a liter and a half, man. And this, I guess that's why only rich people, qualify to do something like this. But still, man, wow. People are actually consuming that much blood for vanity, for aesthetics, for staying young and pretty and beautiful and youthful. Something like this could cause a trickle-down effect. If people are profiting $8,000 off of a liter and a half of blood, then of course you're gonna have a group of inhumane or heartless or amoral people who will kidnap kids, and harvest their blood against their will. Harvest their blood, their plasma, their adrenochrome, for profit. Naturally, this is going to happen, whether you like it or not. All right, we go on. It's no coincidence his scheme is based near San Francisco. The idea has become faddish in tech circles, while anti-aging products usually hold more appeal with women. 2/3 of the more than 65 participants who have signed up for this trial are actually men. Mike Judge's Silicon Valley sitcom recently parodied the notion, the architect guru Gavin Belson relying on a blood boy following him around to donate pints of sticky red at inappropriate moments. That fictionalized account may well be based on the real-life adventures of Peter Thiel, the PayPal founder who has expressed interest in having transfusions. Gawker even reported that he was spending $40,000 a quarter on regular transfusions from 18-year-olds. Ah, man. Yo, guys, everybody who's listening, this is real. This is real. There are people out here actually doing this. I would only read something like this from a horror movie or watching like an old anime from the 90s. But this is real, bro. This is real world-ish, He and various other thinkers who radiate out towards the death-evading transhumanist movement are fascinated by heterochronic parabiosis, the sewing together of two animals in order to create a living chimera. Studies going back decades show the regenerative effects of one organism being joined to another. In the 17th century, Robert Boyle of Boyle's Law suggested replacing the blood of the old with the blood of the young. And just to give you a quick explanation of this heterochronic parabiosis. So a long time ago, a scientist, I believe Robert Boyle, he had two rats. One was very young, one was very old. He cut them up, and then he stitched them together, joining their circulatory system, their blood circulation system, joining their organs. And so they became one animal. And the result was that the older mouse showed regenerative characteristic or regenerative traits of the younger mouse. It appeared to have younger cells in its flesh and its tissue, while it was vice versa. In the younger mouse, it appeared to have aged a bit in tissue, in blood, and in flesh. And so all of these guys, they want to, not recreate, but they're using that experiment as the basis of this process. All right, so in 2012, the University of Cambridge's Dr. Robin Franklin led a group that showed blood from young mice could replace myelin sheaths, crucial for combating MS in older mice. But it was a 2014 Harvard report that seems to have kickstarted the present revival of interest in transfusions. There, scientists injecting old mice with the plasma of a younger generation found it improved their memory and their ability to learn. Conversely, injecting old blood into young seemed to nobble the young rodents. The scientific community has rolled its eyes at the trial element of ambrosia. There is no control group, and with participation costing so much, no one involved is very randomized. Despite these criticisms of science, Dr. Karmazin is still reporting positive results. His team had found that levels of carcinoembryonic antigens fell by around 20%, as did the level of amyloids, proteins involved in cancer and Alzheimer's disease, respectively. All right, and that's pretty much for this article. I just wanted to, give you hard evidence or hard proof or a report on companies that are actually doing this. And just to reinforce that, I have just a few more articles about companies that are actually investing research and money. Well, not even investing, they're operating, and they've been operating for decades now, selling blood plasma, to the general public. All right, pharmaceutical companies are luring Mexicans across the U.S. border to donate blood plasma for profit. And I guess this is just, like I said, this is just one of the trickle down effects of a liter or a pint of people's blood being so expensive at almost $8,000 per shot. You're gonna have companies wanting to gain as much blood as possible, and in turn you're gonna have companies taking advantage or exploiting the poor, the needy, impoverished people into giving out their blood to the point where it's seriously unhealthy for them. All in the name of profit, man. Filthy lucre. All right, companies offer high payments and bring a friend bonuses. Look at that. Bring a friend bonus to Mexicans who cross the border on temporary visas to donate blood plasma. The U.S. offers weaker health protections for donors than most countries, which is why companies such as this, they locate themselves in the U.S. And it's not just this company, which is... I think this company is the Grifols family, another blood plasma company started by a family called the Grifols from Spain. They have bases or blood extraction centers here in the U.S. One of the reasons why they have them in the U.S. along with other blood companies, their competitors, is because the illegalities that they face in their home countries, bans on collecting blood samples or blood from the general public and paying them for it. That is not there. That is not the case here in the United States. And like I said, anything goes in Babylon, man. Anything goes in the land of the whore of Babylon. As long as money is to be made, And I digress, but this is one of the reasons why this country is gonna go down. This country doesn't have that much longer. Okay, so every week, thousands of Mexicans cross the border into the U.S. on temporary visas to sell their blood plasma to profit-making pharmaceutical companies that lure them with Facebook and colorful flyers promising hefty cash rewards. The donors, including some who say the payments are their only income, may take home up to $400 a month if they donate twice a week and earn various incentives, including buddy bonuses for recruiting friends or family. Unlike other nations that limit or forbid paid plasma donations at a high frequency out of concern for donor health and quality control, the U.S. allows companies to pay donors and has comparatively loose standards for monitoring their health. Donating plasma too frequently can hurt a donor's immune system. A donor's level of the antibody immunoglobulin G should be screened every 4 months under guidelines from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's FDA. But in the U.S., donors are still allowed to give plasma up to 104 times a year, far more than in most other countries. Selling plasma has been banned in Mexico since 1987. But you know where it's not banned? Genesis, a 21-year-old Mexican studying to be a paramedic, who asked that her last name not be used for her protection, said she gives plasma twice a week in El Paso, Texas. She said she often faints, gets migraines, and has numbness in her limbs. The more she donates plasma, the weaker she feels. I have trouble lifting stuff problems. I have trouble lifting stuff. Problems with my muscles. Like many Mexican donors, Genesis comes into the U.S. on a temporary visa, which allow non-immigrants to visit family, shop, or engage in commercial transactions. All right, blood trade, health versus dollars. The plasma companies contend their payments are not wages as defined under the law. They classify them as compensation for donor time, since the process often requires long waits and an hour or more hooked up to plasma extraction equipment. Plasma donors are compensated because of the time and commitment involved in being a regular plasma donor, said the pharmaceutical company Grifols, which is based in Barcelona, Spain, and runs 17 plasma donation centers along the U.S.-Mexico border, more than any other company. Damn. Wow. The companies also say they carefully monitor donors and follow all safety procedures. These flyers show that U.S.-based plasma centers accept border crossing cards issued with temporary visas. the practice falls into a gray area of federal immigration law. As the Trump administration clamps down on most traffic at the southern border, U.S. immigration agencies have done little to stop the stream of Mexicans using their B1, B2 visas to visit plasma centers. In interviews with ARD German TV, some former plasma center employees said they routinely recommend that clients lie to U.S. Customs and Borders Patrol about the purpose of their U.S. visits. All right, and the rest is kind of not relevant to the point that I'm trying to bring home. But you guys get the case, you know. I just wanted to illustrate how, you know, the trickle-down effect of having such a profitable industry such as this, and how that results in people with power, with money, exploiting the needy and the impoverished to do something which is very unhealthy for them. All right, the U.S. is the largest supplier of blood plasma in a $21 billion global market. FDA data shows that of the 805 donation centers in the U.S., 43 are located along the southern border up to 60 miles from Mexico. And I want to use that point to segue into the next article. The U.S. is the largest supplier of blood plasma. The U.S. This is Babylon, people. This is Babylon. Wickedness, evil, corruption, anything goes, man, as long as it makes money, as long as it makes profit. Money is this country, this nation's God, you know? Lucre. That's who people really pray and hope to. Money. So, stemming off that, I have one last article that goes into why, how, and for what is America the leading exporter in blood plasma. All right, the U.S.'s blood plasma exports are on the rise. But here's a quick side note before we begin. We are on the lookout. Okay, that's irrelevant. All right, have you ever wondered why doctors are quick to order blood tests when you're feeling sick? It's because your blood is a treasure trove of information. One drop alone holds thousands of molecules, and if you break it down, your blood separates into four main parts: red cells, white cells, platelets, and plasma. And here's the thing. One of these parts does not just save lives. It powers economies and drives global trade. And all of a sudden, this liquid is stirring up conversations in the U.S. All right, plasma. This yellowish liquid makes up about half of your blood and is packed with proteins and antibodies. The world is in desperate need for more of it, and guess what? The U.S. is a major player in this field. In fact, America isn't just a leader, it's the largest exporter of blood plasma. It supplies about 70% of the world's plasma needs. To give you some context, in 2023 alone, the U.S. pulled in a staggering $37 billion from blood product exports. And while this figure is just about 2% of all exports, U.S. goods that year, it's still more than what the country made from either coal or gold. So as the global demand for plasma grows, the pressure is on for the U.S. to keep extracting and exporting more of it. Okay, while blood donation is often seen as a noble, life-saving act, the idea of paying people to donate plasma raised ethical eyebrows. Some countries consider it morally inappropriate to pay for body fluid. Others worry that offering money for plasma could attract people from economically disadvantaged backgrounds who might be more vulnerable to diseases, making the process riskier. And some are just plain spooked by the whole idea. Take the UK, for instance. Back in 1998, the country banned plasma donations over fears of spreading the Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, also known as the mad cow disease. So what did they do? Instead of relying on homegrown plasma, the UK started importing and even set up its own plasma collection centers in, you guessed it, the US. And while they lifted the ban recently in 2021, their reliance on imports hasn't fully gone away. And it's not just the UK. Strict regulations and restrictions around the globe have created a plasma shortage. And this has forced many countries to rely on imports to meet their medical needs. That explains why only 5 companies, the US, Germany, Austria, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, actually allow payment for plasma donations. Isn't Vlad or Dracula from Austria or something like that? My bad, I digress. But things weren't always this way. In the early days of the HIV/AIDS crisis, the U.S. imposed strict rules on who could donate blood plasma, especially especially homosexuals, in an effort to curb the spread of the virus. But then the pandemic flipped everything upside down. With an acute shortage of blood in the U.S. blood banks, the U.S. FDA had to change its laws in 2023 and open up the possibility for more people to donate and get paid for plasma donations. Wow, so now they're allowing homosexuals to donate blood? But here's the thing, and here is the thing, this really is the thing, people. There's still no standard rate for plasma donations. The industry is largely controlled by private companies, many of which aren't even US based. Companies like Australia's CSL Plasma, Japan's BioLife, Spain's Grifols, and Switzerland's Alta Pharma pretty much dominate the US market, and that's it right there, man. Like, you have multinational corporations, you have billion-dollar corporations perpetuating this foul act, you know? And up to what point does it stop? Because it's making money, so it'll never stop, you know? Like at what point is enough? At what point do they stop? That's if people are willing to stop, you know? The irony, these countries either have a ban on paying for plasma donations or have strict limits on how often someone can donate. So they've turned to the US to build their plasma empires. And this dynamic has quietly turned the US plasma trade into a big deal for the economy. For some Americans, especially those from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, donating plasma has become a vital source of income. To put things into perspective, about 12% of Americans were living in poverty in 2022. That's a 5% increase from the year before. Studies have even shown a decrease in salary-linked loans and an increase in foot traffic to nearby stores in areas where plasma donation centers have popped up. Heck, even people from Mexico cross the border to donate blood to make some extra cash. Because demand for plasma is also being driven by the rise of plasma-derived medicinal products, these products are used to treat a bunch of rare diseases, which have been on the rise. One key ingredient, immunoglobulin, is an essential substance derived from plasma, and it plays a crucial role in helping patients with weak immune systems. And the market for it has been growing steadily for the past 25 years with no signs of slowing down. But here's the problem. The World Health Organization says that there still isn't enough plasma to meet the growing needs of the pharmaceutical industry. More than half of the countries it surveyed import plasma because they can't meet their own demand with just voluntary donations. That's why the global plasma shortage has put a lot of pressure on a handful of countries like the US to crank up production, and because the body replaces plasma proteins and fluids within 24 to 48 hours. Donating plasma is considered relatively safe, so donors can give plasma more frequently than whole blood. That's why private plasma centers in the US often allow people to donate blood twice a week on average. But there's a catch. The long-term effects of such frequent plasma donations on a person's health aren't fully researched and understood yet. And every time a shortage of PDMDs arises, the same ethical questions comes up. Is it right to pay for someone for their blood? I don't think so. Well, I guess we're traditional, we're conservative. The scriptures say, do not drink blood, do not consume blood. And if blood is being used for something so vain, to be sold to rich people or to be sold to people who can't afford it, then it shouldn't be done at all. I mean, I understand some points especially about how it's being used in research, to research blood and to find cures through people's blood. And that's a hard point to fight, you know? I don't have all the answers. But the fact that, you know, it's being used for in vanity, for to be sold to old people, that's, you know, that just messes it up. And that's pretty much what I wanted to bring you guys today. Just a topic of discussion and also a revelation, just to show you what's going on in this world, you know? Because that's what we seek. That's what we're after in this life. Truth. Truth, wisdom, and understanding. And I hope whatever journey you guys are on to find that, you're prospering, you're finding revelation, and hopefully you share it, you know, share it with your brothers so that we know as well, and that we can move in this world with better understanding, you know. With that being said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening to another video. Thank you guys for still being here. I'm gonna drop a little follow-up to this video in about, I don't know, in about 2 weeks. And it's gonna be about celebrities and having examples of celebrities that actually consume blood. They drink it, they bathe in it, and of course they, you know, they spill it in ritual sacrifice. It's a twisted world, man. But with that being said, I hope you guys keep praying to the Most High, man. Keep praying to the Most High for truth, for wisdom, for understanding. Keep telling him that you're grateful for every single thing that you have, you know, and keep praying to him and asking that he helps you learn and grow every single day in this life, you know, every single day in this life. So thank you guys. I'm gone.